CN570, a local train that, well, doesn't look like a local. Unlike the typical local trains, which typically have 4-axle power and very short consists, this train quite literally looks like a whole manifest train with 6-axle heavy locomotives and the train sometimes being 2 miles long. 570's main job is to simply bring stuff from Macmillan Yard to Aldershot Yard and vice versa. 570 actually begins at Aldershot Yard in the morning, picking up anything that it needs to, and brings it all the way to Macmillan Yard. Then it does the exact same thing, but in reverse, bringing anything from Macmillan Yard all the way to Aldershot Yard. 570 is basically a connector between these two yards. Aside from trains that make essentially pit stops there, like 434, 435, or some other trains. 570's entire journey is just over 50 miles, traveling on the Halton Sub for its entire route, the entire Halton Sub, 49.5 miles, and then the Oakville Sub for just about a mile or so. 570 is basically a glorified local, which as of late only really gets GE locomotives such as the GEVOs. And yes, I'm aware there are other glorified locals. In the early 2020s, 570's locomotive consist was simply only the X-Crex units or X-City Rail units, which did make it a little bit more interesting than it is now. However, with the onslaught of the AC44C6M rebuilds, it became increasingly hard as the C6Ms replaced the X-Crex units. Or C-Rex, I guess. There are times where they do get EMD locomotives, but it's extremely rare. On average, I could say one EMD locomotive per year. One of the unique tasks that 570 has is transporting GO coaches or cab cars either from or to North Bay to either get refurbished or coming back from a refurbishment. An example here we have is 570 back in November of 2022, bringing one of the first refurbished cab cars, GO 206. 570 is actually the most common train on the Halton Sub, appearing twice a day. Of course, as just stated, it goes back and forth. Depending on who you ask, 570 is either decently popular or, well, not popular at all. And again, as just stated, depending on who you ask, the reason could possibly be the power, or, well, it just looks like a typical manifest train. 570 could actually go pretty fast depending on what the load is, hitting its top speed of 50 miles per hour for freight, as any type of freight train is limited to 50 miles per hour, even if it's a intermodal train. Z or Q, it really doesn't matter, you're restricted to 50. Here's some examples of a decently fast 570. 570's train schedule is always changing, but from recent memory, I could say that it runs eastbound between 11 and 1 a.m. and westbound between 3 and sometimes 6 p.m. In general, 570 is a modest train, not the best, but I could arguably say not the worst either.